Swanna is pretty much avoided competitively, and I want to try something weird with it. It's a water flying type with mediocre stats, but the speed and special attack isn't actually horrible. So here's what I'm going to do. We can set up Rain, and now Swanna gets the benefit of hard-hitting Stab, 100% accurate Hurricane, and 50% boosted Surfs. The true sauce is if we get low, we can actually go for Rest to heal us all the way to full, and then its ability Hydration wakes us back up immediately, and we get some free heals. We obviously throw on Ice Beam and a Life Orb for all the extra damage we can get, and most people have forgotten that Swanna exists, but it's time to make it a beast, or try it. So this is a set where just being able to go for a Rest and then have that hydrated off by the rain is kind of the main challenge. It's not going to be easy, but is going to be extremely satisfying if I can even get it to work. Now, Swanna is also not the strongest duck in the pond, but we're going to do our best and show it some love. If you're into that kind of thing, you should consider hitting that subscribe button. My goal for this year is to hit 400k, and you could help me out. Now with that, let's go ahead and jump into the match. Now with this mon, I'm definitely not expecting to get a full team sweep with or anything, but I do think it does have some value. Now, my opponent decides to lead off with a Rabombi, and I have myself a freaking ugly-ass Cybertruck. Now, I figure they're probably just here for the Sticky Web. They try to go for the Stun Spore turn 1, which is always fun, trying to paralyze the ground types. But luckily for us, the downfall of that move is that it misses all the time. So we get up Stealth Rock essentially for free. And at this point, I decide I'm just going to try to break this thing's Focus Sash. I'm mainly concerned about this thing being Sash. They are going to end up going for another Stun Spore, so of course I do get paralyzed. Not the thing you see often is Iron Treads being paralyzed, but I get off an Earthquake. I figure it'll do probably pretty similar damage to an Ice Spinner there. It does do around half, and then I'm like, you know what, an Ice Spinner probably kills here. And I also have the option to Rapid Spin. While they do have some Ghosts in the back, I feel like I should at least be able to get a Rapid Spin off. Because I am Focus Sash, I can conserve it for later. And as they do set up their webs, I end up breaking through the parrot, get off that Ice Spinner, and that's a dead bee. So that thing out of the way early is fine. Now I do have to deal with those sticky webs, but again, I have my Rapid Spinner out, so their best bet is to bring in the Ghost type. Now they have the Basculegion. It leads me to believe it's probably Adaptability, because they don't have any rain support on their team. So as I decide to switch into Pelipper, I feel like it's kind of my best option to take an attack here. Also, I can set up and enable my own rain, but in the process, it's going to enable this thing's Wave Crashes and get it to do a bunch more, but they go for the flip turn, does a nice little chunk, and they can, decide a better matchup. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic working with my own rain versus, their Basculegion. The thing is going to be a problem. That fish is quite scary. So as they go into Skarmory here, I figure this fella probably wants to just set up Stealth Rock, and I kind of figured I was actually faster. I forget that this thing is in fact 5 base points faster than me. So they go for the Stealth Rock, and then I U-turn. I probably should have just hard switched, because now I have to switch something into those Stealth Rocks. And honestly, with this squad, I try to get Swanna in as early as possible, just to have the option to try to hydrate off some sleep with my own rest, and I need as many rain turns as possible. So I'm going to bring in the Goose. I've called it a Goose, a Duck, and a Swan, but regardless, this winged bastard is here to throw some water and hurricanes at stuff. Now, I know I can take an attack from Skarmory, and also a Surf in the rain does quite a bit. So I'm just gonna throw it out. This thing does not get Hydro Pump, so Surf is your best bet. So Cowabunga on that ass. They decide to switch into Golden Go, and that's actually fine. String Cheese fella comes in, and 2 Surfs does kill this thing. Plus we're faster. This thing, Swanna is interesting, right? It has a base 98 speed, which is like kind of good, but also you're not faster than really anything else that's considered fast. So it's in a weird kind of gray area, but the Surf is almost able to knock it out in one hit, which is sweet, because now I can just go ahead and finish it off with whatever. I decided to go for the Hurricane, just on the chance that they switched, obviously guaranteed to hit in the rain. That takes care of Golden Go, which is honestly a huge threat out of the way, so that feels pretty good. Chalk one up for young Swanna, and we are also taking a little bit of damage from the Life Orb, which we do need, because this thing does not hit that hard other than to help with the little rain boost. So now they decide to bring in my worst enemy, a Boulder. Pioneers need to drive these babies for miles, and it's also going to be Quark Drive speed. So this thing is certainly faster, and I am in danger of getting destroyed by a massive rock thrown at my face. But I decide this is actually a great time to pull out the Terra Ground. It's mostly here, for obvious 4 times weakness to electric. However, in this situation, I feel like they're probably going to click the Mighty Cleave. And with this Terra, I should be able to take it. And then I actually click the rest. And now it's time to see if the Swanna can actually do what it's built to do. So they go for that Mighty Cleave, luckily for us, and we live it. We barely hang on with 26. Allows us to then go for the rest, which is extremely satisfying, because now That's just a free little bring back to full HP, which is not something you see every day. And then we're like, hey, you know what? That rain feels good on the face. I'm going to go ahead and wake up. Hydration gets rid of the status condition, and now we're in business, baby. I also know that I can take any other attack this wants to throw at me. The good news is we do live a Psycho Cut. The bad news is it gets a crit. Of course it does. And now, as I am able to finish it off with a Surf, I do knock myself out with my own life orb. It would have been extremely satisfying had that not gotten a crit. I could have potentially rested up again, but unfortunately down goes the Swanna, but honestly worth it to go for that Terra, just to show off the sick-ass hydration rest nonsense, which is fun. So with that, now we've got, honestly, the game opened up quite a bit. I've got rid of some of their threats, and I've got some good answers left, but it's definitely not over yet because they have some scary shit. So first, they decide to bring in Basculegion. They probably want to take advantage of that rain while they've got it, and wave crashes are going to hurt. And as I bring in Furret, I was thinking maybe I could tidy up something and get rid of those sticky webs, but at this point, I am going to be slower than the thing. And also, the Frisk comes through, shows me it's heavy-duty boots, and now we know it's not choiced of any kind. I was kind of worried about a choice band, but at this point, definitely a wave crash destroys my little Furret ass through the adorableness, and I would rather not that really happen, so I decided to switch into Zarude here. I'm thinking maybe Zarude can actually take 2 hits here. Since it's not choice banded, you never know. I also thought that the rain was going to go away on this next turn, so I thought that would also help out. As they go for that wave crash, it does do a nice little chunk. Wave crashes from Basculegions they just do damage, which is sad. But after some leftovers, I'm looking relatively healthy, and the rain actually has 1 more turn left in it. So I'm like, I'm running out of options against this damn thing, but they actually now go for the last respects, and that is going to just barely be enough to knock me out. So down goes this Zarude, and this Basculegion is once again proving to be a problem that I have enabled myself with my own rain. But it actually goes away this time, and I'm thinking to myself, maybe, just maybe, there's a chance that Furret can live a non-choice banded wave crash that's not in the rain. I realize it's probably not going to work out, but also here's the thing about this Furret. It's not going to work out in general, because I'm 2 moves on this thing. I am Tidy Up and Last Respects, or Last Resort, sorry. If they keep the ghost type around, I'm basically screwed on this thing regardless, so I bring it in here just to see if somehow I can tidy that shit up. But no, I just died of that wave crash. So Furret once again becoming useless, and I kind of am down to not a lot of options here. I have a Slacking, and I know what you're thinking, hey, that's not too bad, but also, here's the thing about this Slacking. It's actually a special attacker. I am working with a special attacking Slacking just because I don't even know anymore. I'm messing around, and it's not ideal, but one thing about Slacking is I can take 1 attack from this asshole. And I can also go for a Thunderbolt. I'm thinking what this does is it actually baits in the Skarmory. So I'm thinking a Thunderbolt covers for if they stay in or switch into Skarmory and then Stonks, but they, for whatever reason, actually end up swapping into the one thing I was really hoping they wouldn't, and they go into the Alolan Ninetales. That's because this thing is able to set up the snow, and as I do get a nice little chunk with that Thunderbolt, it is not going to be enough. Plus, of course, I'm stuck here on a Truant turn, and I got to get my bread ass out of here, loafing around and shit. So I decide, here's the thing. The worst case scenario for me would be if they got an Aurora Veil up. And one way I can stop that, swap into Pelipper, being able to switch over the weather to rain. If they click Aurora Veil, it's not going to work, but bad news is they just go for the freeze dry. And, you know, they're having some freeze dried Pelican tonight, and that thing is dead as hell. And also setting back up the rain, while it was worth it if they you know, wanted to try to set up an Aurora Veil, it also then still now just enables that Basculegion even further. And so it's just a goofy ass battle. But I feel like there's a way. I have a special attacking Slacking, which rhymes, and also I have a paralyzed ground type, which is weird. But as I bring in this thing, I know I can take any attack it wants to throw at me. They do go for another freeze dry. Does a little chunk. Luckily for me, I do break through the the para. Might as well be confused. And that is going to kill the Ninetales there. So it's not going to be able to get up in Aurora Veil, which honestly is good news. But at this point now, they've got 2 Mons left. They've got the Basculegion and they have the Skarmory. I'm thinking Slacking is the win con here, baby, but also I now have to deal with a rain-boosted wave crash, which sucks balls. But, you know, that's Aqua Jet is able to take care of the treads, and now it's all down to the lazy monkey. The last thing you want to rely on in a match is a special attacking freaking choice spec Slacking. It's just ridiculous. But I come in, take the speed drop, which sucks because now it allows the Basculegion to actually outspeed me, but I can click the Thunderbolt, and I know I should still be able to take a Wave Crash here, because we know it's not choice banded. So they're actually going to end up going for a Terra. I was really hoping for something that wasn't going to resist the Thunderbolt. Turns out to be the Dark Terra, and while you know, that's going to be a neutral hit with the Thunderbolts. I feel like I might still be able to grab a kill. It all comes down to if I can live a Wave Crash, however. And as they go for it, we are thick as hell out here. We thick as store-bought gravy, and we're able to barely live. Allows us to fire off a Thunderbolt, and that actually kills the Basky Legion, which is insane. Now, this match is going to come down to Skarmory versus Slacking, and a Thunderbolt with a Specs should be able to kill it. Bad thing is, I'm stuck on a Truant turn. The next turn, I have to literally do nothing. So, I mean, this Skarmory can come in here and pretty much just body press me or Brave Bird me or do whatever this thing wants to do to finish me off, which sucks. Truant absolutely busting my balls out here. Looking at I have nothing left. So I'm just going to click the T-Bolt. Now here's the thing. I get that Truant turn to go off. I'm loafing around, and they actually click Roost. Now, the only reason why you would click Roost in that situation is if this thing is some type of full supportive Skarmory that does not have an attacking move. And as I click the next Thunderbolt, I'm able to outspeed and hit it, and they actually run. They had a Skarmory that did not have a way to hit me, and that was actually probably the craziest possible way for that game to end. That shit was ridiculous. And that is going to bring us into our next game. Now, if you've stuck around this far into the video, you should go ahead and do me a favor and hit that like button. And we're working with a little bit of a different squad this time. Let's jump into it. Alright, so my opponent is going to go ahead and lead off with the Masquerain. And this thing has a lead. Basically just tells you it's going to be Sticky Web support. And I am kind of cooked against Sticky Web here while, you know, I am Clear Body, don't get intimidated. They're about to spray some webs around, and I don't actually have any hazard removal, so I'm just going to have to deal with it. But luckily, there's a couple things I have that don't really care. They do go for that Sticky Web turn 1, and the big old shiny doorknob is going to hip thrust some little Stealth Rocks over there, so that should be nice to keep around. At this point, I know that Masquerain either goes for a Quiver Dance or gets the hell out of here, so I'm going to Thunder Wave and try to just cripple whatever wants to come in. If they swap, they do end up switching. And they're actually going to bring in bug number 2. So in comes Heracross. Now, a Thunder Wave on the Heracross could be bad news. If it's Guts, it's still just going to get the attack boost from that. But regardless, slowing this thing down in general is actually still helpful. So we come out on top on that. I, of course, do not want to be close combated into the damn Shadow Realm. So I do decide to get Doorknob the hell out of here. And I figure might as well get some rain going. I'm going to go right into Pelipper. I can take any attack other than like a Rock Slide that this thing wants to throw at me. And it also can't really set up, you know, being paralyzed. So in comes the Toilet Bird. It is a beautiful day on the beach, and now it's raining. And beachgoers are pissed, but we enjoy it. I actually do have some other benefits on the team. Other than Swanna, I have the Basky Legion, but they actually go for the Trailblaze. Not going to make it super fast here. They're probably still afraid of a Hurricane, so I just decided to go for a U-turn here. And depending on what they want to go for, they actually stay in. The U-turn does in fact not work in my favor this time, and I now have to switch in something to an attack. Now, I feel like a pretty safe bet would be go Basky Legion. I know I can take any attack this thing wants to throw at me, and this thing's on the squad to kind of do a few things, right? First of all, it's supposed to bluff the fact that it's not going to be Swift Swim. It's instead Adaptability, and I do get caught up in that Sticky Web, which is unfortunate, but they do go for the Stone Heads. They did have the rock coverage there. Gonna do a nice chunk, but we're able to hang on. And at this point, I decide to go ahead and bust out the Terra Dragon Scale Shot. I want to ensure that if it stays in, it's in fact going to die. And also I can get that speed boost back that I lose from the Sticky Web. And maybe, just maybe, Basky Legion can get something going if I decide to continue setting up speed. So they actually end up swapping into the Masquerain here just for that Intimidate support. This thing's eyes are scary, so apparently Basky Legion's afraid. But as I go for that Terra, I figure I should still have enough damage, hopefully, to kill this thing at half health. It really goes for that Scale Shot, just for that speed boost for the most part. But now, being Dragon type, we also get that Adaptability boost. So we are now a Dragonfish, and honestly, Buddy looks pretty badass out here. So I go for that Scale Shot, and of course, it misses. Scale Shot always misses in at least the time you need it to hit the most. And now that's bad because at -1 speed, this thing is able to be quicker, and I die to a Masquerain shamefully. The worst thing about it is that I waste my Terra there, so that is wildly unfortunate. Down goes the Basky Legion. At least now, however, I can go into the Swanna. You know, the rain is out, it's a beautiful day for a Swan, and we are definitely quicker than a Masquerain, which is sweet, so I can throw accurate Hurricanes around. They also don't really have a whole lot that wants to switch into it, so I'm just going to go ahead and bop a Hurricane, and they decided to sack off the Masquerain, which is great. So that takes care of the bug that had potential to maybe be Quiver Dance, but it got up its Sticky Web regardless, and that thing's annoying. So I take some little bit of Life Orb chip, and now as they can go into whatever they like, they decide to bring in Pikachu. So here's the thing. I am faster in terms of base speed than a Pikachu. If they bring it in here, I kind of figure maybe, like, is this thing Scarf? I'm starting to doubt myself. You know, a Surf in the rain should kill it, but then I'm like, if this is a Scarf Pikachu for whatever reason, I will never be able to live that down. So I'm going to swap the Swanna out, save the thing for later. Big threat in the back pocket. And the good thing is I have a couple different like easy option switch-ins to a Pikachu. Obviously I have the Dragalge here. This thing can take special attacks for damn days. And then also I have a Registeel. I go in Dragalge just because this thing's kind of a threat. And they actually are going to Volt Switch. So yeah, we get Volt Switched on. It allows them to bring a better matchup in versus the Dragalge. But there's still really not a whole lot that wants to come in on this thing. You know, they have some threats like Porygon Z. They have Tatsugiri. But on the physical side, they've got the Heracross. And as this thing comes in, threatens us with an Earthquake or whatever, it actually does get fully parried, which is sweet. Like, luckily the parry coming in clutch. That allows me to throw off a Sludge Wave, and it actually lives it. I kind of thought adaptability boosted Sludge Wave was going to grab the kill there. It does not, however. But what does happen is parry comes in twice in a row. Sometimes you feel bad about it, sometimes you don't. I'm just going to throw another Sludge Wave, and that's going to take care of the Heracross. So down goes old Pinky, or Purpley. And Dragalge is actually still in a pretty decent spot here. They don't have a whole lot that can hit us with a one-shot here, so they decide their best bet is to bring in Porygon. Kind of their best option also to be able to take an attack. What they don't know, however, is that I have Focus Blast, and I'm going to click Focus Miss here in hopes that it does in fact not miss. As they go for that tri-attack, it gets a decent chip damage, but it also gets the para. Now, luckily, we don't get fully parried, and I hit the Focus Blast, so I'm over here just getting lucky as hell, and that is actually just going to take care of Porygon Z in one hit, which is also very satisfying. So with that, we're paralyzed and we're pretty crippled at this point. So, I mean, there's not a whole lot that Dragalge is going to do. So as they bring in Pikachu here, I'm like, you know what, Pika, you can do your best. I don't think this thing has any coverage that can really knock me out as a special attacker. So I'm going to let Dragalge continue to do its thing, but they're actually going to pull out the Terra. It has to be an offensive Terra here for them to have an option to hit me with. And as it turns out, it's actually going to be Ice Terra. So this thing's working like that old-fashioned hidden power Ice. And a Terra Blast Ice is potentially able to knock it out here. So they go for that Terra Blast, potentially locking itself in. But if it's Light Ball, it has enough damage to knock me out. And that's going to take care of Mystery the Seahorse. So that takes care of Dragalge, which is unfortunate. We're going on a little bit of a run with that thing. And here's the situation. As much as I want to go Swanna here, I don't have my Rain up. And I really... This Swanna needs the rain for both hydration, but also just damage in general. So first I decide who actually switches in here nicely is going to be Registeel. I go Registeel just because I can take attacks from Pikachu, obviously, and be able to cripple whatever they got on the back. So I'm just going to go for that Heavy Slam. They're actually going to go for that Volt Switch. Tells us they are not going to be choiced. Every single Pikachu is Light Ball, so I don't know why. It still scared me against the Swanna, but... They swap out here, and at this point, they've got 3 Mons left. Sorry, they got the Flareon, they have a Tatsugiri, and the Pikachu. So they are forced to bring in the Flareon here. Probably should have clicked Earthquake expecting that. Instead, my dumbass Heavy Slams. And sometimes you just gotta hurl a metal ball at things' faces, and it doesn't even do half. It feels like that would probably hurt quite a bit, but it's resisted because it's fire, and I am in danger of like a Flare Blitz here. But the good thing is, they get the Toxic Orb, which is gonna give it guts, but also... This now allows me the opportunity to swamp right into the Pelipper. I can get up my Rain, I can take an attack from this thing, no problem. Flareon has shit coverage, and Toilet has a nice little time here. Also, they don't have Stealth Rock up, so I come in pretty safely. We're flapping around, making it rain. And once again, the Rain is up, and we're feeling good about that. And the Rain also helps out with resisting some Flare Blitz even further, and we can definitely even take another one of them. So Flareon is not going to be able to do too much here. I don't think it can actually knock me out, so I'm just going to throw a Hurricane on the chance they want to swap into Tatsugiri, potentially trying to get a Storm Drain, but they do not. That's going to take care of Flareon, and now it's 2 Mons left. 2 Mons in which I do have the ability to outspeed with Swanna, and that's feeling like my win condition at this point. You know you're down pretty bad when Swanna's your win condition, but I've got the Rain up. It should last for the remainder of the match. And now as they swap back into Pikachu, they are just going to go for that Thunderbolt. I just let it sack off the Pelipper here, and that's going to take care of ye old Toilet Bird. So as this endgame's a little bit of a clusterfuck, one of my situations that I'm worried about is the Tatsugiri not dying. So I actually decided to go into Doorknob first. I mean, it's a safe bet in terms of being able to take anything that Pikachu wants to throw at us, and it does just bait in the Tatsugiri. But immediately as I swap this thing in, I realized looking a few turns ahead, that allows potentially Tatsugiri to be able to Rapid Spin to be faster, and then Draco Meteor hurts some stuff, and honestly, this little sushi bastard can actually be a little bit of a problem here. So this thing comes in, takes a Heavy Slam. I'm just throwing out resisted Heavy Slams today, and it is able to live. But we do get a good amount of chip on the thing to where I'm feeling pretty fine about it. And I also realize they probably just want to go for a Surf here. A Surf in the Rain boost, depending on if its Specs has the option to kill. And I realized, you know what? I'm just going to go right into the Swanna. I'm bringing in the Swanna out here. If they want to go for a Surf, that is fine. There's no Stealth Rock up. I should be able to outspeed it after. And then we just clean up the game with Hurricane. So I bring in the bird. They do actually just go for that Surf, which is great for us. It does obviously do a nice little chunk. But the good thing is we are faster than little sushi boy. So I'm able to connect on a Hurricane, luckily. That's going to take care of the Tatsugiri. Wasn't exactly sure on the calcs on that fella. But Swanna's out here doing damage. Grabs kill number 2. And then Final Mon being the Pikachu, he's going to need Ash support for that shit because he's, in fact, not going to be faster than Swanna. We're obviously just allergic to this thing's electricity, but it does not even matter if we are, in fact, just, you know, faster. So I smashed the Hurricane. That is going to connect and take care of the Pikachu, and Swanna's able to clean up the match for us. A little bit of a sloppy endgame, certainly no doubt about it, but still, regardless, a fun match, and Swanna's able to kill half the squad there with Hurricanes, and we love to see it. So that's going to do it for the match. Thank you guys very much for watching. This set was actually, it's a bit of a goofy one, and it doesn't necessarily always work how you imagine it's gonna, but still just having fun with it, and I appreciate the support. I will catch you guys next time. Peace out.